Welcome back to another episode of Pulse of Polynesia. I am your host, Leaso Filoili'i, coming to you live from the great state of Texas.
Yeah, Talofalava. Talofalava Leaso, and Talofalava to our viewers. I'm your co-host, Chief Tasiafa, tuning in from the great state of Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. Together, we're your bridge to the voices, the stories, and the legends of the Pacific that deserve the spotlight.
Tonight is far more than just another episode. It is a tribute to the Pacific led by a powerhouse whose voice and spirit echoes across nations.
Facts. This woman has graced international stages, moved audiences to tears, and lifted entire arenas to their feet. She is raw talent, soul, and Polynesian excellence all wrapped in one.
She is the most sought out, highly booked Polynesian entertainer, the diva, the inspiration, and the force of nature everyone's been waiting for. Please welcome the one, the only Marina Davis. Welcome.
Oh my
Welcome,
God, what an
Marina.
intro. What an intro. Now that's an intro. Everybody take note. That's an intro. Thank you so much. That's so beautiful.
Got
Thank
to give you
you.
your props. You well deserved.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. I've loved seeing all of your snippets on social media, and I get asked to be on a lot of podcasts and things like that, but I just align so much with what you guys do and your values as a team, and your values to tell our stories as they are, and not as the perfect version, as the Kodak moment version.
Mhm.
I look forward to sharing with a couple of hours with you guys. My goodness, I got my coconut water ready.
I love it. So before we begin, once again, welcome. And you're such a busy
Thank you.
person. The schedule that you run. And for those who weren't tracking, we actually had her booked last week, but her schedule was so busy, so we had to rebook for today. And thanks for our other aligned folks. So they understood and say, hey, we need to work something out. We need to get Marina in. So thanks for those who
Ah,
allow that accommodation. But Marina, we want to
thank
take a
you.
step back, and for some of our viewers who are not familiar with who you are, and for most of the Pacific people, yeah, I think we
Yes.
have a good understanding who you are. So, um, but for those who are tuning in who may not know who you are or seeing you for the first time, who is Marina Davis, in your own words?
Okay, so Marina Davis is a surrendered servant. I am a mother of four, a proud mother of four. I've raised some incredible young women who are emotionally intelligent, really resilient and strong, and funny as heck. Like, my kids are the most hilarious people I've ever met. Like, and I meet some hilarious, famous comedians. So for me to come home and always have this great relationship with my kids, where we talk about everything and anything, it's actually been my life goal. My life goal was never to become famous or to become rich or anything like that. I remember being a young girl looking up to my mother so much, and just one day, and my grandmother, one day I want to be a great mother. One day I want to impart, some sense of love and passion to my children. And my oldest is 23, and the next one's 21, 19, and 16. And I'm so very grateful for the opportunity. I feel very honored that they chose me as a mother before they came to this earth,
Mhm.
and they have been my greatest teachers in life. Taught me how to emotionally regulate myself, and also taught me how to want more and want better, and how to plan properly for that, because you can't just have a dream. You've got to have a way to get there as well. You've got to have a plan, but they've created so much purpose in my life, and for that is my greatest role. I'm a older sister. I have 10 siblings. I'm the oldest of 10,
Wow.
and but I'm the only one that can do the splits. So that I'm joking. I'm joking. My brothers can do the splits too. So there's four boys and six girls, and I'm
Wow.
very privileged, to have I feel like I'm so strong as a person, and as an entertainer, and I can be myself in the world, which is actually a very rare thing for people. I didn't know that until I'm being myself and other people are being pretentious. But to be able to be yourself and be the force
Mm.
of nature that God created you to be. I feel
Mhm.
like it's because my arms are being held up by my mother, my father, my grandparents who've passed, my siblings, my children, and then on top of that, my extended family, my aunties, my mum's sisters are powerful women, powerhouse women. So I have all this to aspire to, and I know that I can be who I'm meant to be, not just as an entertainer, but as a person who brings warmth and love to everything that I do. And and warmth and love doesn't mean there's no conflict. It just means we deal with conflict with warmth and love instead of attitude and pain. So they taught me all those things. So I feel like my background, I'm half Jewish and half Samoan. My father is Jewish, and he lives in America. I spent some time with my Jewish family um, in America, and they're all lawyers and judges, and I'm just a singer. Yes. You but it's wonderful because I have a massive extended Samoan family, because I was born in a little village in Upolu called Tawhituala in Safata. I was born
Mhm.
in the living room of my home, and that
Wow.
is a very proud thing that I carry
Yeah.
with me. And every show I do, I always say I'm from Tawhituala Safata, because I'm very proud of my village, very proud of my heritage, both Jewish and Samoan. um, so I am a person who has had a lot of failure in my life, and because everybody loves to look at the successful Marina,
Mhm.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
whereas, you know, I like to talk about the broken Marina. She's more interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about that, right? Because everybody,
Okay.
especially in the spotlight that you're in, a lot of people look at the outside, and but then at the same time, you have those who want to dig into the other side of you to let's just say to judge, right? But you're not
Right.
afraid to be open about who you really are. You're not afraid to tackle the truth because
Yeah,
the real truth about yourself, there's nothing to hide, right? So let's
there's
talk
nothing
about
to
the
hide.
failures because really the failure is what really builds a character and really builds success.
100%.
So let's talk about
100%.
that. Yeah.
100%. The thing about being a Tamaita'i Samoa is that I think there's a false narrative about the Tamaita'i Samoa is only standing in perfection. I'm sorry. I built
Mhm.
my whole career on, if you want someone paia, alu sesi mea, I'm not the one to come to look up to for a holy, for someone that is going to be your role model. No, I'm going to be me. And what that means is that I want to put it into perspective.
Mhm.
Everyone knows Ole Tawalunga, everyone knows Love Samoa, Sao Moi. My songs are hits. However, I've released 50 to 60 songs and only 8 of them are hits, right? So, in the greater scope of things, if I've released 50 songs, 42 of them have been failures. So, in the greater scheme of things, I'm a failure, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that my songs have the ones that have hit and have become world renowned, they are powerful enough to, number one, create a legacy and create some sort of status for my voice and
Mhm.
my music to be categorized as up there. And what that creates is the false sense of, wow, that's she's so super successful. And I'm so grateful for that because I've had such amazing success in my life. But it's the failure that got me there. And it was my grandmother at 3 years old teaching me from the bus from Kafikuala right through to Upolu to go visit my mum at work. On the bus at 3 years old, 4 years old, she'd put me in front of the bus and say, I don't know, "Usu so pese mo ka aka ia." You know, at 3 years old, she instilled super confidence in me, super confidence. She would help me to identify, "O le ala me ke whiwhi ai. What are you
Oh, yeah.
afraid of? Lea me ke kangi fuai. Lea me
Mm,
ke fefe vale fo whape ngai lumakangaka. You know, sort of thing. Why are you scared? Let's talk. My grandmother would get me to talk about what fear felt like in the body. Do you know what I mean? And what fear felt like was, what if I make a mistake? What if I fail? She taught me at 3 years old, who gives a damn?
Yeah.
If you fail, if you sing a wrong note, who gives a damn? Sing anyway. And because of that level of confidence that she instilled in me, I kept singing regardless of whether I was flat, whether I couldn't harmonize. And then I just got better because I practiced more. So what she taught me was, whatever I practice, I become. Do you know what I mean?
right.
Yeah.
Whatever I practice every day on a daily basis, if I want to be a great singer, I had to practice that and practice whatever it is that I need to do to achieve that. So, my grandmother at 3 or 4 years old in the bus, right? Or even when we're at home in Kafikuala and we've said our nightly prayers and done our family loku, she would sit me down. "E i ingi o a wanga pe se notes leo ke pese." She would sit there and just lea se I ingi lo a wanga,
Yep.
because the love of a mother, right?
No,
The
I laugh
love of a
because
mother.
what you say there, I think a lot of us understand what you just said there. For our non-Samoan speaking viewers, she's talking
Sorry.
about the pinching part. It's hilarious to us Samoans because there's always that memory when you're being corrected, whether the kid is in the back seat and the parent is driving, and you're telling them behave and they don't behave, but then you reach back there and you pinch them, and we still do it today. But
Or in
it's something I
church.
grew
Exactly.
up seeing, right?
In church.
Getting pinched.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just really wonderful to have that instilled in me. So as I got older and I failed a lot in my music career, failure didn't scare me.
Yeah.
And failure didn't, judgment did. Judgment scared me because I'm a
Mm,
bigger girl, sort of thing. And I remember when I first came out on social media and I got attacked for my looks. You're ugly, you look like Miss Piggy's, behind, sort of thing, things like that. So I was afraid of judgment. So it was like, because my grandmother had taught me how to overcome my fear of failure, I was able to go, what if I just apply the same process and practice loving
mhm.
myself and practice, who cares if people judge me? So that attitude that my grandma taught me of, who cares if you make a mistake? Who cares if they like you? It just carried
Yeah.
on for the rest of my life. And now my kids are effortlessly going through that. They don't care. Do you know what I mean? They don't care what
Yeah.
people feel or think, because they are so solid in themselves. And that's a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I love what you mentioned there, and there's something about I'm sure it's the same across the Pacific. That line you said with your grandmother giving you, and this is something that my dad also repeats, is because what he was told by his grandfather, like owo ke fifit, and they're more in the line of the Matai system. Like when you get out there
Right.
and you're giving your lauma, like you better not stumble. And he was brought up
Mm,
in that line of orators where you better go and deliver. And then I guess at
yeah.
a young age, when he was afraid he would stumble, and his
Hmm.
grandfather told him, "Obu ke fefe kau kala lumukak," like you better not fear,
Right.
get out there and deliver. And his grandfather always taught him, you fear one person only, and that's the man above. So when we were young, we grew up in the States and we started doing these local stuff. And
Right.
we didn't speak Samoan very well, but man, my dad ruled with an iron fist. Like he was the typical
Hmm.
father. He's standing there and you better get your
Right.
lines right.
Mhm.
So, and that's the same thing, Fa'amanga nguku, like he's like telling us, like, what,
Yeah.
So, you're sharing a lot of things that, it sort of resonates in my mind, or, it brings a lot of
Mm,
memories back of how I was raised.
mm. Oh yeah, we all have similar upbringings, with the I mean, with I'm the same with my kids too, at the end of the day, um, you know, it it only reinforces if we are courageous. But the thing is that I feel that I've gotten better results with my children and all the mentees that I mentor over the years, when I lead by example. It's easy for them to get permission within themselves and their hearts and their souls and their minds to follow through with what advice you're giving them when they see you doing it. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
that's what was, that's what's been lacking a lot, is that sometimes we're teaching our kids, our kefefe, but we're fefe. You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Or,
I
or,
like
or
that you
we try
say
to
that.
uphold, yeah, because it's
I
true. Because,
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
I like that you say that because you talked about how there was a post that I saw and I hated this one post. It was post on one of the Polynesian page where they were criticizing your before and after look, and it was disgusting, and it was our own people, and
Oh,
they
yeah,
were making fun of your before and after look, and I thought this is so disgusting that you cannot be happy for our own people, that you have to go out there to criticize, and to only find out that like we also get criticized as well. But I like the fact that you say that your reaction, your examples, you have to set examples for your own kids, right? Because like
right.
how I react, my kids are watching.
Hmm.
So I have to be careful because I don't want to do something that later on my kids are watching from behind, because like how
Yeah,
you respond, your kids are going to respond the same way. And so that is
absolutely.
key.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I don't even pay attention to the negativity
Mhm.
about me. It is none of my business. I get DMs all the time. You're a disgrace to Samoa. You're, like, because I got the gastric sleeve, and I don't know how many times I need to do videos explaining my health was in danger. This is
Hmm.
not about looks. This is not about trying to
Yeah.
look better. I've always been really confident and comfortable in my body. But when you get to a point where you've taken care of everybody else, okay, and you want something that's going to fix it and that's going to help you to live longer for your children, and you don't at 45, I just don't have the energy to do anything other than just relax, man. I don't have the energy to go to the gym every day. And great if you do. I
Yeah.
travel, 70% of the year. When?
Yeah.
when can I actually get the time to look after myself, sort of thing. And that's no excuse. Like anybody, there's always going to be someone. You can never say the right thing to the wrong
Right.
person. There's somebody listening who's going to judge everything I'm saying. I don't care. Judge away. It's not my issue. You need to look at yourself. Or le mea lea, with all the stuff that sometimes I do go have a look at what people say, but I don't pay attention and I don't respond. And the reason being is because e mawalelele papala o loko kangaka, you're
Hmm.
you're giving yourself away how dirty your heart is,
Yeah,
that
and
you
usually
cannot
it's
see any positivity.
Yeah.
and what bothers me is like you see these comments and then you go look up their profile. Either they have no room to say, to speak on, whatever shade that they're throwing. But then two, the
Yeah.
other part that bothers me, it's someone you probably know and they just created a profile just so they can
Oh,
attack you.
heck
And it's
yes.
like, maybe three, three viewers,
Yeah.
or three friends. Like you
Yeah.
just created that just so you can come and send something
Yeah.
negative, shame on you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And the thing about what I notice online too with other artists who follow down that rabbit hole of responding back to the negativity, where your attention goes, your energy flows, right? Or energy flows. So what that means to me is if I pay attention to it, more of it will come.
Mm,
Yeah.
But I am so blessed that that is a small percentage of the people that watch me. It's like people are so silly. You didn't know you could just keep scrolling.
hmm.
You really don't have the emotional intelligence to go, when I see something I don't like, I'm like, I don't like that, keep
Right.
scrolling. I don't comment you're this awful person. Even if I disagree, it's none of my business, because it's social media and people are allowed to do what they want to do.
Right.
So so for me, I focus on the 97% of the positive people that are there being inspired by what I do, encouraging me as well. Because every now and then I'll get a spiritual mother in there that's like, "Shambarabababashakara." She's praying for me in tongues in the DMs. She's like, "Lord, more favor on our sister, more goodness." I want to focus on that, and I want to
Yeah.
build relationships with those people. None of
Mm.
the negativity, and it's taken years to get there, by the way. When I was younger, it affected me a lot, to the point where I didn't do video clips. where I
Mm.
didn't do,
Yes.
where I'd release songs and I wouldn't do videos for the songs. So that's why in America people are like, oh my gosh, you sing Ole Tau Lunga? They didn't know what I look like because I don't do
Yeah.
videos, sort of thing. I don't do music videos. So now that I'm getting into the phase where I'm getting like, I don't even care how I look on video anymore. I'm not going to be self-conscious. I want to back myself and back what I say, that it shouldn't be about the way you look. Unfortunately, my industry is a lot like that. But I'm doing more videos and more music videos now. And the reason being is because it's taken me a long time to work to that place where I'm comfortable putting myself out there like
Yeah.
that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was a
Well,
very
I
good
gotta.
point.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll get back to you last. So, but
Go ahead.
we've kind of gone 20 minutes in, and I apologize to our viewers. And we told you, Marina, we do have a live session, so I want to bring in the comments from our viewers. Then I'll go back to Lasso.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, good evening, Miss Marina Davis and Pulse of Polynesia family from Janet. It's great to see
Good
you
evening.
again. So, these are your Oklahoma folks. Daily Bible reading
Love it
2024.
for
Talofa
her.
lava, everyone. Yeah, talofa lava po.
Talofa.
Minority report. True. So, is in agreement with something you had said earlier. Okay. And back to you, Les.
Right. So I want to get back to your conversation in regards to grandma, right? So like a lot of us growing up, we a lot of us grew up singing, especially singing in church. And then there's a point in our life where we're like, okay, we suck. We're done. Life happens and we're done. How did that continue with you? How did you continue singing? What made you continue to carry on the path of singing?
Well, obviously, I thought right up till I was like maybe 14 that everybody could sing like me, right? I just assumed. And then we'd be at church and I'd hear people singing. And I'm like, "Famole mole, keep it down," sort of thing. Like, I didn't realize that it was a gift as such or a talent until I was maybe like 11 and my mom started putting me in talent quest. She saw the gift. This is why motherhood is so important. Fatherhood is too, right? But for me, my influences came from the mothers in my life, the women in
Mm,
my life. My mother saw my gift and she would be like, I'm going to put you in every talent quest and we're going to see just how. And I won every talent quest that I was in, bar one, right? I lost one and that was enough. That was enough because I'm a Scorpio, so I'm very competitive, sort
right.
of thing.
You're
After
driven.
that, yeah, and driven. That's it.
Yeah.
But again, because my grandma had taught me the way to overcome the fear within myself and the failure. I was like, I'm never going to fail again. So then I was like, okay, that means I need to improve. I need to get better and I need to get stronger. And I would listen to Mariah Carey because she was my favorite singer at the time. I was, 11, 12 years old. She had just come out. She was my idol. And I would be like, "Sweet, sweet Vanessa." I would just like copy everything she did to improve. And then after that, I never lost a talent quest ever again.
Mm,
Um, and it was my mother. And then believe it or not, at 16, 15, 16, I got a contract to go and perform all over Europe with two other girls that I grew up singing with. We were in a group together called Marbiel, Lavina Williams, and Maybelle Ngalaval.
mm,
Those two ladies, the most hilarious and talented ladies you've ever met in your life. Lavina is literally, she's a vocal and musical genius. So is Maybelle. The absolute, like, if you listen to our stuff from where that we wrote, the songs that we wrote at 12, 13, and 14 and 15, you would think, my God, we were doing that then, and only now they're coming out with that sound, those kind of harmonies and things like that.
wow.
It was amazing. So we won this talent quest that was on television in New Zealand, and then the prize was we got to tour all over Europe, right? My mother, believing in me so much, she let me go right? I can't imagine letting my 23-year-old go travel in Europe by herself. Do you know what I
I
mean?
know.
So
Mm.
it was us three and our managers, two managers, and we went all the way to Europe and we toured Europe and we just traveled and recorded and busked. We were busking and doing all sorts of different things. But I couldn't even imagine, my youngest is 16. I couldn't even imagine letting her go to the letterbox on her own. Do you know what I
May
mean?
I ask real
So
quick
my
before we continue? What year was this?
this was 1996.
Okay.
Mm.
96. I'm 46 next month.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No, I'm just
46
trying to.
next
I
month.
was trying to put the setting. What other artists were around. In Europe at that time.
Oh
So
yeah,
1996. So
Mariah
SWV.
Carey.
Yeah, Mariah Carey, Destiny's Child, sort
mm,
of
Mhm.
thing. And we would have been a huge international success if New Zealand had the audience size of America. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? And if
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
we traveled everywhere, we went to America looking for a record deal and things like that. It's
Wow.
much harder to break into than it is now, because now we didn't have social media back then, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So now it's so much easier for artists to break in because there's social media. But
Mm,
back then, you literally had to rely on people like DJ Peter Guns in Sydney and Tickles in Sydney, who did the Fresh Off the Boat CDs and mixes. I literally give props to them too. For actually making me a success internationally, because they used to put my songs in their mixes,
mm.
and I always thank them. They're wonderful people, and I'm always like, because I'm famous because of you guys. You guys put me on those mixes. You guys made me famous. Sort of thing. Um, but yeah, it was a different time, and my mom believed in me so much that she let me go. And without my mother's support, my stepdad's support, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did.
You know
Okay,
what?
so I
I was
have
just
to
thinking.
ask. Sorry.
Um, Real quick, I just
Go ahead. Go
you
ahead.
mentioned something, and I envision this thing because you always see like what's the other, the Boys in the Hood movies, but then um, what's the group? Straight
Which
Outta
one?
Compton, right? Straight Outta Compton, right? There's a movie. So I was
NWA.
just kind of going that direction. Have you ever thought about creating, like a biography or maybe a movie to capture your life? Your everything that you've gone through.
Yeah. I still can't believe people know even my songs. So I get offered maybe once or twice a year, hey, we'd love to do this biography on you. We'd love to
Hmm.
do this documentary on your life. And I'm like, I'm just not that interesting. I don't think there's anything
Oh.
special there. Do you know what I mean? And so I'd rather document my daughters getting their malus, sort of thing. That's more
Mhm.
interesting to me. And so a couple of years ago, a production company came to me and said, "Look, we love, like, because I had met the owner of the production company at an event, and we just started talking, and he was just such a beautiful person, so intelligent, so smart. And I loved talking to him. And then he was like, he was like, tell me about your life. Like, tell me about how you grew up and tell me, and he was just like, you got a fascinating story. I want to
Hmm.
tell your story. So they came a little while later, and we had some more meetings and talks. And I just chickened out. Because and they were like, the offer's always going to be on the table. We want to do a documentary on your life. And I'm like, I'm just not that interesting, sort of thing. So I don't think there's much to tell other than,
Well, I think
what I told you so
I
far.
think I think otherwise because I look at all our artists of the past, like you sort of want to know what their life was like, right? Because you only hear
Yeah.
about their songs, but now they're gone, and then you have to
Mm,
interview the family. What were they like? What did they do? But I think you
nice.
should, like, it's a capsule that our people deserve when you're long when we're gone, when the people will hear
You're so
your
right.
story. So think about it.
You're so
Just
right.
my
Thank you
advice.
for that. I
Yeah.
will I
Yeah.
will reconsider. I did actually have an epiphany this year when I got sent a video from Madagascar,
Mm,
and they had done like dances to my songs. And I'm sitting there going, oh shit, I think my music's going to outlive me. It was the first time I've been faced with the mortality of my mortality,
right.
and thinking about, oh my gosh, like, remember, Ole Taulunga, which was my first big hit, came
Hmm.
out in 2001, right? So next year is going to be the 25th year anniversary. So, and I've had that longevity in my
Wow.
career from that one song alone, pays you every single year, like
Yeah.
it's, like it's gold, and so it's amazing to me. I guess that's interesting, but to me it's just business, it's just life, sort of
Hmm.
thing. So thank you for making me reconsider that. I will have
Yeah.
another, I'll probably have
No,
another
no, I'm
conversation with you.
very strong on cultural preservation, and you're part of that, right? So you've already made your mark.
Yeah.
But I think our
Wow.
people deserve to have that captured for them because we're going to look back one day, and to have
Yeah.
that, just if you ever look at those documentary, whether it's a documentary or just the family footage, those are treasured, by our people, and you don't
Wow.
see any of that. And
Yeah.
maybe you'll be the one to set the precedence for all the other artists. You know,
Hmm.
be the first.
That's a
Be the
beautiful
first.
way to put it,
Yeah.
Yeah. And
because
it
you're
goes
right
back
that.
to, mhm. It goes
No,
right
sorry, go
back
ahead.
to, no, no, you're fine. It goes right back to you being a mother, right? Like, as a mother, you you
So
put
good.
you put your career, you
I
put your
do.
career behind because you just said it yourself, like, no, I want to focus on um record, capturing my daughter getting her her tattoo and everything, and then you want to put aside, wait, but this is the moment for you at the same time.
Right.
So,
Right.
which takes me back to, why did you wait? Was that the same reason why you decided to get on the X Factor, because you had to take care of family first?
Oh, for sure. We wanted two boys and two girls, right? That was our plan. We were going to have two boys and two girls. So when I kept having girls, and my husband was like, "Oh, I think we should keep trying." And I was like, "Hell to the no," because every child sets you back 10 years in my career,
Mm,
because there's something about when you have this kind of form of expression. To me, it's worship. It's a way to worship God, using my voice to sing and entertain, and bring warmth and love and goodness to people. That's a form of worship to me. You can't just switch it off. Do you know what I mean? You can't just switch it off. So even though I was having children, and my whole focus and my whole heart, I love being a mother. I am
mm,
so lucky, and I don't say it in the sense of, I love being a mother and then I'm something else. My kids will come and tell you themselves the level of mothering that they've received, but that you cannot give that level of mothering without sacrificing. And that's why
Mhm.
I admire mothers who work, because I know what it's like to be a working mother. I admire my husband for working so hard that I could be a stay-at-home mother for 12 years. But by the 12th year, I was like, I am meant to do more with my life. And I
mhm.
did not allow myself to feel shame about wanting to find the balance between motherhood and what I was born to do. I
Right.
was born to do this. It's not just like like a hobby or anything like that. I was born to do this. So how can I find that balance? Well, there is no balance. So just do it anyway. Just
Right.
go for it. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? People always ask that, but I'm so grateful because my mother taught me to change that sentence around. She would say, "Stop saying what's the worst that could happen," because that creates negative precedence in the mind,
Mm,
and you also, because you're putting that out into the world. Oh, the worst is going to happen. She said, "What's the best that could happen?" So
Mm.
now the language is different, and see how differently that changes the output that comes from you, from your spirit, when you start to say, "Well, what's the best that could happen?" You know
mm,
what I mean? Oh, I get to travel the world with my kids. I get to get paid. I cannot believe people want to pay me to do what I do, because I don't think it's that spectacular. But because other people have made it, what it is, or the perception around what I do is great, I cannot believe that I get to travel the world doing this and having a really full and beautiful life. I am unashamedly doing that, and still being a great mother in the meantime. There is no balance. So just stop trying to find the balance. You just got to do it, and you just got to love every moment of it. And so for me, it's, they go hand in hand. I am both these people. We are there is duality in all of us. There's many facets to us, right? So I would rather speak to the honesty and the truth of that, and try to live in that duality and try to do well in that duality, than suppress my gift to just be something that I'm not whole, like I'm not
Mhm.
going to be fulfilled in. I would rather go down the path of least resistance to joy in my life and fulfillment that fulfills me. Because guess what? My kids get the best of me because I'm fulfilled. Does that make sense?
I
Yeah,
love
I
Yeah.
that.
wanna touch on what you just mentioned, and the audience might view it a different way, but you mentioned this. You say, I know you're saying it sarcastically, but you say, I can't believe my audience would want to pay me. But the reality
Yeah.
is, the moment you realize you have a gift or a talent that the masses enjoy, and
Mm,
I'm just doing a small comparison to, I do art on
yes.
the side. I do graphics art.
Right.
Um, when I first started doing graphics art, I did it for myself, and I realized how talented I was. And I
Wow.
just shared it on social media, and then people were looking at it and say, "Wow, you know, I would pay for that." And I say, "Okay, yeah, I can see maybe a couple like 20, 30 bucks." But a friend of mine said, "If you go to this one site, that art is, that kind of art is selling for 800." And I said, "There's no way." That's where I
Wow.
realized I actually have the skills, I was blessed with the talent, God gave me the talent for,
Right.
these things to do on the side. So I started getting into that business. But the question I have for you is, do you think sometimes because the gift that we have almost comes with ease, that we feel that, is that why we always feel like, why would you want to pay for this art? Because it almost feels easy sometimes. Do you feel that way? Like,
Yes. Yeah, it feels like effortless because,
yeah.
but that's how you know you're born to do it. You can't
Hmm.
shut it off. You can't switch it off. And then you will do everything to find some sort of balini, some sort of balance with that and your actual life. So, I mean, how different is this to actually having a job that you really love?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we can say that about anything. I just love what I do so much. And
Right.
I can't believe that people want to pay for that. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm so honored. I'm so grateful. But I just love what I do so much. I don't see it as work. So because I don't see it as work, it doesn't feel like a chore. It
Right.
feels exhilarating. And that's why I can be the best version, the highest version of myself for my children because I'm getting fulfilled in what I'm called to do. Does that make sense? And
Mhm.
they are my biggest supporters. I'm telling you, these girls, every day when I was in America, Mom, we saw your costume, girl. Oh, girl, you work it, girl. They're like, Mom, we saw you sitting on that old man's lap. Girl, get it. They are my biggest supporters. And because they reap the fruit, they eat from the fruit of this as
Yeah.
well,
You're
sort of
exactly
thing.
right.
So they've had a great life because of this gift.
Yeah.
But I've never had to sit down and explain it to them. They just understand because they know I come back full of just the goodness that they deserve from
Hmm.
me because I get to do what makes me,
Yeah.
super, super, super fulfilled in my life.
Yeah. You're fulfilled knowing that the gift that you are is being appreciated by others, but then the fruits of your labor is beneficial to your kids. So I love it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. I still freak out when people recognize who I am and I'm just like, because I'm super naive, sort of thing. I didn't grow up with a mother who coddled me and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're famous now. Go for." She was like, "I know you just got back from a tour where everyone worshipped you. Go and do the dishes."
Yes. Yeah. Well,
She's like,
speaking of,
"Babysit your brothers and sisters while I go to the club." She's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, mom."
well, I want to touch base on the motherhood part, right? Because, us as mothers, and being in the spotlight for you, there's, again, it goes back to, trying to keep this persona in front of people, but then at the same time, being a mother and not trying to front in front of people at the way that you are. So tell us
Yeah.
about, raising your kids and trying to be this mother and this person in front of people and not trying to front.
Well, congruency is very important to me. Congruency is when what you think you are and what you say you are matches exactly how you act and who you are. right? Congruency is very important. I cannot lie about who I say, who I think I am, and then walk out something different. I can't, I'm amazing, I'm this and that, and then have absolute fear in my heart. So, one of the things I noticed that's very different between me and other performers is that um, we operate from two different spaces. I operate from a place of complete love. My grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, her siblings, they good our village. They supported our village. They, it's the chief family of the village. So as we were growing up, they served the village, right? You cannot do that because you can make a lot of mistakes in servanthood. You can get things wrong, right? Even in servanthood. So
Mm-hmm.
that love of servanthood has been instilled in me since I was young. But the core of servanthood cannot be fear. It has to be love. The word says, where there is perfect love, there is no fear, right? But the opposite also applies. Where there is fear, there is no love, right? So unless you're a parent and something's happened to your child, that's probably the only time scientifically that the brain can actually feel fear and love and great love at the same time
Mm-hmm.
when you're about to lose someone you love. But realistically, the brain can't do both. So so in learning servanthood from the examples that I was given by my mother and her sisters and her brothers and my grandparents of how to serve the village, they did it with absolute love. And that meant having hard conversations. That meant disciplining each other. That meant doing what's right even if it doesn't benefit you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Trusting the process of leadership, even when you know people don't like you. Do you know what I mean? So I saw this and I saw the power in the way that my mum leads. She doesn't give a damn. My mom doesn't give a damn. My mom doesn't give a damn if you like her, if you don't like her. She will lead with authority and with power, but she does it from such a place of perfect love.
Mm-hmm.
So when I grew up watching this, I noticed on stage I perform from a place of perfect love because I absolutely love what I do. I love performing. I love entertaining people, making people laugh. I love because I was like, no one's going to let me be a comedian. They just want me to sing, so I'm just going to put the comedy in my show,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing, and and I'm going to force people to see me as a comedian too. So it worked. So in that process, I notice with other performers, they go on stage and they care way too much how people will receive them,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is fear. I can see the fear, because I've been taught by these incredible women in my life. This is what fear looks like. This is what love looks like. You cannot operate in both. You cannot excel in both. You can only excel in one. So when I'm on stage, I operate in the fullness of the love that I feel within me to do what I do and to serve the people that are there and to serve the organization that I'm performing for. That I don't and and because I serve in love, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm just there to do a job and I do it really wonderfully. And thank God it's hilarious. It makes people laugh with belly laughs. It makes them get out of their seats and dance. It has the desired effect because who is giving that energy comes from a place of perfect love, right? But if I got up and I did it in fear and I was like, oh, what if this joke fails? What if this fails?
Yeah.
Right.
What if this, you'll be able to see it. You can feel it. You can feel it when a
Yeah.
performer doesn't believe in themselves, sort of thing. So I mother the same way. I am congruent in every part of my life and I don't get it right all the time. There's no perfection. Get over it. I'm not trying to say I'm perfect or anyone. Get over that. That's not what I'm trying to say. In my everyday life, I try to practice congruency. I want my actions to match who I say I am and who I think I am at the same time, right? And my kids, because they see that in leadership, they just follow what they see.
Yeah.
They follow the leader, right? And so it's really easy to marry both because I'm congruent first within me, and then I get to serve from that place, that overflow of love that comes from my heart for what I do and the people I do it for. God, that's a long-winded answer. Sorry, guys.
No, I love it.
No, it's a
I
good.
told you I'm a talker.
No, I love it.
No, it's good. I like how you bring your true personality out, and
Yeah.
like
Thank you.
we talked about that offline last night. you want people to know there's another side of you, and if you keep that
Yeah.
hidden, then no one sees that. The moment you express it, people are like, oh, she's lost it, or he's lost it.
Yeah.
What is that side of him? But the people that really know you, if you've always expressed that other side of you, people will know that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
me, I have a very dry sense of humor, and I release like crazy videos too, but it's so dry, and only the people that
Yeah.
know me will laugh at it. But I would say 90% of people, it's just way over their head, and they're like, that does not make sense, or it's not funny. Stop making videos. I'm like, you're still gonna
Yeah.
get videos. You're gonna watch my videos whether you like it or not, because
Yes.
I made it. For me, one day to look back, you know, go watch my videos. They make sense. Everything I do is like
Yeah.
subliminal anyway. So now I like that type.
Yes.
You have it, but you're right. Bringing that out for people to know this is the true me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that there's such a lack of congruency, a lack of alignment within people in general, not just Pacific Island people, and people in general. And I'm so blessed that I get to meet so many people all over the world. And pretty much 90% of the time, people are trying to impress you and trying to make themselves out to be better than they are. And it's just like, bro, I just want to know who the real you is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about that fluff, sort of
Yes.
thing. And I think a lot of my work as well, because like I feel like what I do is a ministry, and a lot of the work that I do is helping people to come back to themselves by asking the questions, well, why would you feel that way? Well, why would you react like that? Well, why? Because one of the things that helps my children and myself to regulate ourselves emotionally and to be able to mature, as citizens of this earth is self-evaluation. I evaluate myself all the time. I'm constantly judging myself because that's so much better than trying to figure out why people are hurting you, why people are doing this to you. I judge myself like, well, why am I allowing it to hurt me? Well, why am I jealous of her? Why do I want to fuki her so bad? What is it triggering in me? And so, because the way to alignment and the way to congruency is literally being brutally honest about your own self and your own actions and your own emotions. That's the only way to get back to yourself, truly.
Mhm.
And so it's so concerning for me traveling all over the world, and I meet so many people who are not congruent, and I'm just like, I think that's where I want to go with my life, is teaching people how to be congruent, because there is a process to it, and it's
Yeah.
taken me 10 years to practice becoming the person that I want to be, so that my actions align with who I say I am, and who I think I am. Does that make sense? And a
Yeah,
lot of people, because I know a lot of people go through life and they don't even self evaluate to the point where they don't realize they're lying to themselves, you
Yeah.
know?
yeah.
So it's something I'm very
Is it
passionate
is
about.
it exhausting to you, or when you first had this approach, was it exhausting at first? It seemed like you're always going against the grain.
It was absolutely. And then, one of the great teachings that I've received over the years is just go down the path of least resistance to joy. So whatever creates resistance to joy for me,
Mhm.
I turn the other way. And then there's a way to know when you're creating resistance and it's all emotional. And we've been taught as Samoans, suppress your emotions. Don't be emotional. When our emotions are a great indicator of where we are spiritually and where we are. And studies show, I just saw a study a couple of weeks ago where women who are not allowed or who are forced by their partners to suppress their emotions inside their relationship, and who are gaslit on purpose by their partners, women who are taught, oh look, you're just over dramatic and you're emotional,
Mm.
they are 4 times more likely to develop autoimmune diseases, and they are 4 times more
Mm.
likely to die faster than women who are allowed to be their full self and express themselves emotionally. And I'm not talking about fighting. I'm talking about when there's an issue in the marriage or in the relationship, to be able to discuss it and communicate it, without having your partner shut you down. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Without having your partner say, "Oh my God, I can't deal with this," right? So, it's interesting that if our emotions are so powerful, that if they get shut down by even the one person that we love, our partner, that it opens us up as women to getting autoimmune diseases 4 times faster than anyone else.
Mm.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
if emotions are not important, if we're taught to suppress them in our culture, what is it saying about teaching us that if we don't take care of our inner health, our emotional health, then we're actually setting ourselves up to die faster and fail faster in our bodies. Our bodies will actually turn on us, sort
Mm.
of thing. So there's something more that I want to look into as a just as a lover of all things science. I've always been a science geek since I was young, especially brain science, and understanding why people do things and why I do things. I focus on me first. Why do I do this? I mean, when my daughter was 5 years old and she just wasn't perfect enough, my oldest. So I picked her up, threw her against the wall, beat her up, sort of thing. And because she's a Taurus, she's a very resilient child. She sat there going like this. She refused to cry. So I was like, how can I make her bleed? Like that was my
Mm.
process as a young mother. How can I force this child to listen to me? You know what I mean? So I went back to what I knew, which was violence, which was
Mm.
trauma. You know what I mean? So then I was walking to get my high heel because it was nice and sharp. And I'm going to be like,
Wow.
I'm going to get blood one way or another. And I remember walking to get this, and this voice in my head was like, she's not yours, she's mine, and you're a
Oh.
terrible steward, sort of thing. She's not yours, she's mine. It was probably the first time I'd ever heard God literally in my mind. She's not yours, she's mine. You're a terrible steward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drop the, that emotional trauma straight away. And I had to do a lot of self evaluation. Why do I react like that? Okay, I was raised like that, being honest about it. Then also on top of that, um, I was cringing at everything she did. Like, oh my gosh, don't say that. Oh my gosh, because she's super intelligent and super funny and super smart. I'm like, just be quiet and be perfect. I just need you to be the perfect Marina Davis daughter. Do you know what I mean? Don't open your mouth. Don't, sort of thing. And so I realized if I want to be different, I have to practice something different. That is the catalyst of healing, true healing within the human condition, is to not only think about or get the revelation you need to change, but then to act it out with your body so your body responds differently. So for 3 years, from the time she was 5 till the time she was 8, I practiced and I got it wrong so many times. God, I stuffed up so many times, because change does not happen overnight, but people don't even want to try it for a couple of days. But I was determined to be a different mother. I was
Mm.
determined in this sense. I was not going to react with violence. I was not going to traumatize my daughter, because I realized that as I'm, acting out this violence and all of that to her, that she's got 4 other siblings that I will do the same to, and I will traumatize my kids. The trauma we don't transform within ourselves by getting congruent and honest with ourselves and changing ourselves, it will transmit. What we don't transform, we transmit. We're transmitting onto our children, right? And they will do the same with their kids.
Right.
That's how generational trauma continues. So I practiced for 3 years, just whenever, like I'll be sitting there going, like this, like trying to not react. And then by the second year, I was able to react without such a harsh face. And then by the third year, it took me 3 years of practicing not inflicting trauma and violence on
Mhm.
my children. Because you know what? I realized after the third year that it was because she's too much like me.
Mm.
And I didn't
So
like how she was
same
so much
personality.
like
I
me.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah, same personality.
And I
And
love
I
that
thank God
you were
that's
able to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just
no, go for it.
the self discovery, and
Yes.
that realization. I mean, there's trauma there, but then for you to realize that and making that correction, a lot of people
Mm,
seek professional help, but it's good that you recognize that, and it
yes.
was something that
Mm,
you were able to manage, and it's good to hear that
mhm,
you resolved that, and that's been the change in your family. So, um, and I
mm,
know there's a lot of folks out there because that's similar to all of our upbringings. It's so easy to
of course.
grab the belt because that's how we were raised. If it wasn't the belt, it was the
Absolutely.
okay or whatever our parents used. So, but I
Mm,
think our generation, we're seeing there's a different way of raising kids rather than that old,
yeah.
might is right, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's crazy because like for me, kudos to you because you had to figure that out on your own. For me, I'm more of the type where I have to see from the window of someone else to be
Mm,
able to realize that, whoa, what I'm doing is actually wrong because I've just been
right.
so programmed and used to the way I grew up, right? Because it becomes
Yes.
automatic that
Yeah.
this is how I've been programmed to be. And just like what you
Yeah.
said, like especially where I don't want to look bad in front of people or my
mhm,
kids. And so the fact that you wanted to be this perfect, your kids, you wanted them to be perfect because these are your kids. But I don't know how you're stronger than me because I don't know how I could do that. And I'm learning from
Mm,
just you talking about it
thank you,
because even
sis.
to this day, I'm still trying to learn. And
Right.
so, for those who are listening, how can they do what you're doing and have strength to be able to find within themselves? Because a lot of people have to go somewhere else to find how to get the strength. And sometimes they find it in places where it's not good for them, in
Right.
places where it'll be bad example, bad influence,
Right.
maybe some good, but most of the time it's not fitting for their soul. So
Mm.
what is your advice for those who are seeking help?
First and foremost, self-evaluation means, that self-discovery that we talk about, that is
Mm,
the most valuable tool that I've ever used, and I teach it everywhere. I'm so lucky that there are groups of women who let me teach them this stuff, sort of
mhm,
thing. And the reason being is because it works. It works, sort of thing. So being self evaluation is being brutally honest with yourself about how dirty your heart is and how dirty your actions are. Why
mhm,
can't we do that? Why is that not encouraged? Why are we focusing on how dirty other people are? Focus
mhm,
on you. Why are you doing this? Right?
mhm,
mhm,
When you're honest about that, then it's not enough to get the revelation. Trauma is like, I know this sounds awful and I'm prepared to get all the flack for this, but trauma has been some of the best thing that's ever happened to me, because
mhm,
trauma forced me to look within myself,
mm,
right? To find the healing, because God is within us. He loves us so much. Our Father loves us so much. He gave us the tools to go within ourselves to discover what is wrong with us. But our society is so focused on what's wrong with everybody else.
mhm,
So when you do that, you're brutally honest. I'll give you an example. A really good friend of mine, uh, you know, I play a game called Close the Gap, right? With all of my mentees and with my children. So my daughter, ended a relationship, and just one day, like a month later, one day I just had a feeling in my heart, one of my kids needs me. So I texted
mm,
all of them, because the house is massive. So I'm just like, I'm not yelling out in the house, like, sort of thing. Sorry, before I get to that story, I just want to share also. I knew that I was incongruent as well because my actions didn't match who I said I was when I was the worship leader, and I was like, "Everybody, lift your hands, let's praise the Lord." Yes, matauti oitama via. And then I'd come home and be like, "Go, I got go, lelo, I got you know what I mean? That is the classic sign of incongruence. That is the classic sign of you are not aligned to your true self, to your highest self, right? So I was like, that can't be right. Like, and everyone's paia, everyone's holy in front of their church mates and in front of the faithful, right? In front of the
that's a
pastor.
typical Samoan Sunday anyways,
Typical, right? I didn't want to be that. You've got to get sick and tired of who you are, sick and tired of the things you don't want to be. So, why would you keep practicing it? Why
right,
wouldn't you invest more energy into practicing who you want to be? And then understand that the practice of becoming who we want to be is not overnight. And the greatest thing I learned in that 3 years of practicing not to react to my children in violence and trauma was how to be kinder to myself if I make a mistake. If I get it wrong and I raise my voice every now and then, that's better than every day calling my kids fucking idiots. Oh my God, fucking kill yous, sort of thing. That's better to like can we just go for the win? A win is a win. If I'm just yelling at my kids once a month compared to every damn moment
Hmm.
previously, that's a win. By the third year, I had calmed my nervous system so much that
Mm.
nothing my kids can do I tell them, make your mistakes. You are not going to be demonized for having a boyfriend. You're not
Mm.
going to be slut shamed for going into your sexuality and your sensuality as a woman. That's normal. You're normal. Do you know what I mean? You're
Right.
not going to be demonized for being a normal human being,
But
right?
that
So,
that goes against the way that our Polynesians think, right?
well, the thing is that I think every mother wants their child to be happy.
Yeah.
I think, regardless of what culture, every mother, unless you are traumatized and really broken inside and you want your children to suffer, oh, girl, you are not congruent. Do you know what I mean? The thing is that there was a study done, I think 10, 16 years ago. Come on, let's get real, okay? It was about Polynesian sexuality, right?
Mm.
Samoan women are the number one most promiscuous women in the Pacific. That's what the study
Mm.
showed. So, so can I just reaffirm that being a Tamaita'i Samoa doesn't mean you are perfect? I'm sorry. I hate all this ideology out there about the perfect Tamaita'i Samoa. We love to see it, and then when they fall from grace, what do? Oh, they're so no.
Yeah.
You're the problem. We're the problem for perpetuating that false humility, for perpetuating that false narrative around
Mhm.
our people. Right? The truth is that the Tamaita'i Samoa embodies who she is in God, right? Including, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure God created sex and sensuality, right? I'm pretty sure that's actually a part of who we are because we need to procreate and for pleasure. Why is that taboo? Why? Why should I make that something that I cannot be open about with my daughters? There's no freaking way I'm going to let them learn about emotions, sexuality. And I'm not talking about we sit there and we talk about how to have sex. No, we talk about
Mm.
we talk about this is what you can expect when you fall in love. You're going to
No,
feel
no, but
this
you're
way.
right. The question you asked, like, why did we demonize sex, right? And
Why?
it was like somewhere in history, it was the church, right? The church
Yeah.
creates all these rules for us. I think it was in the
Hmm.
1700s or 1800s, somewhere around that time period.
Right.
They created these rules, and then these are the rules that are adopted. But then the question again goes back to what you were saying: was that a cultural rule in Europe that was now adopted, and now the church, expanded it? But where is it biblically, or is it more culturally?
I'm sorry, but my great grandfather, he had 7 wives.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. He had 7 wives. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And uh so
Yeah.
this whole whether it was the church, we can blame the church all we want and don't come for us because we love the church.
Yes.
We love the church. It's not about the church. It's what our people accepted as truth when we already had our truths before. We
Hmm.
already had our truth before any church, any religion came to us. So if you're telling me that my great grandfather was wrong, fantastic, go for it. But that was our society before,
Hmm.
sort of thing. And so coming into this age where my children are 23, 21, 19, and 16, there's no freaking way I'm going to let them learn about sex anywhere else, or not
Yeah.
just sex, but emotions. So the rule in our household was you're not allowed to date till you're 19.
Mm.
You're not allowed to, you can have feelings for a boy, you can because that's normal before you're 19, but you're not emotionally sound to even understand what you want from a boy until you're 19. Every single one of my children has kept that promise, every single one of them, right? So my daughter just turned 19 in April this year. She turned 19 and 19 in one day, and she was like, I got a date on Saturday. 19 years, and the next day she was like, I got a date on Saturday. And I was like, good for you. I honor that because, so the fact is that, we hold our virginity as as a very sacred thing to us, right? Because it should not be just with anybody, right? So my girls have such a wonderful outlook on sex and love and lust. They understand all of it because their father and I have programmed them to understand themselves first, right? What do you want, so now they don't tolerate crap. They don't tolerate anything from anyone, right? But that's because we've given them the courage to pursue what they feel is right in their heart. So, none of that is taboo in our household. Some things I'm just like, girls, your mother shouldn't know that about you. Go talk to your sisters about that. There's certain things your mother shouldn't know. Do you know what I mean? And they're like,
Yeah.
well, you're my best friend. Who am I going to tell? Sort of thing. So I'm very grateful for that. But it takes courage to build those relationships and those bonds with your children where they're not
Yeah.
ashamed to be themselves. Isn't that what we all want? We just want to be in the safest place to be our truest self without being judged, without being demonized, without being villainized,
Hmm.
right? And so I knew that as the mother, I have the power to create that space in my home. And it's never been perfect. It's never been perfect, but it's been, even in the imperfection, it's been joyous because the lessons are amazing
Yeah.
for me and
But,
for them, you
no,
know?
you bring up a lot of good points, and a lot of it, it's interesting that you mention all these because Leos and I had a segment we had. We talked about the defloration subject, and it's very sensitive to our people, but that's one of our practices. And we were just saying, hey, did you watch the Chief of Wars episode? And they go through this marriage ceremony. And then going back to what
Yes.
you're saying, the age group, they're very young. So a lot of that's part of our
Very.
culture, multiple wives, right? Because that's how our
Mm-hmm.
chiefs formed alliances. But then, a lot of that changed over time. So it's still part of our culture.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
just
And
it's interesting that you bring up those things. Yeah.
it amazes me how quickly our people forget, and then they take on this new side of our culture as the only way our culture has been. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
it hasn't, and there's lots of pages about Samoan history on Facebook. I love going through it and seeing even the changes in Siva Samoa. We were talking about it yesterday. Like, there's
Oh, yeah,
videos,
yeah, yeah.
from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s where it's just,
Yeah.
it's changed into this whole different thing now. And now this is accepted as that's how Siva Samoa always was. No, go look at the footage from years
Yeah.
ago,
Hmm.
where it was completely different. And
Yeah.
so, not that there's anything wrong with it. All of it is beautiful because our cultures should
It's
evolve, but
evolved.
not
Hmm.
to the
Yeah.
point, where we completely forget the ways of the generations before us, because they
Yeah.
help us too. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? The Tamaita'i Samoa that I see, being, and I get raked through the coals for this because I'm not perfect enough. I'm too vocal. I'm too loud.
Hmm.
To be a Tamaita'i Samoa. I'm sorry. The only examples I've ever had of powerful Tamaita'i Samoa is my mother, my grandmother, and my mother's sisters, who walk through this earth like powerhouses with so much love and faith, sort of thing. So that's all I know, sort of thing. So, and I get so many emails and DMs with people saying, thank you so much. Please pass this on to your daughters. Your daughters are teaching me as an adult woman how to be my true self. So they're watching the videos with my kids and seeing all the love and connection and congruency that we have in our relationship. And they want that for their children. And my only advice is practice who you want to become. It is that simple. The brain science behind it is that simple. So this is not cuckoo, like, oh, you just gotta think you're better and you're gonna be better, So no, walk it out. Your body memory is stronger than your brain memory. So between the body and the brain, there's the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve, previously, up until 15 years ago, they thought that the brain transmits more information to the body. Only in the last 10 years they've actually studied the vagus
Mhm.
nerve, and they realize that the vagus nerve that sends messages between the brain and the body, that the body sends 10 times more messages to the brain than the brain does to the body. What does that say? Our body memory is stronger. So you cannot just make up your mind, I'm going to the gym. You have to get your ass off the bed and go to the gym. Does that make sense? It's the body memory that remembers, and that's how we practice who we want to become. Walk it out. If you're practicing not being so bitchy, you have to literally stop your face from being bitchy and stop your mouth from, reacting in a certain way, right? Everything that you want to practice, I always say this to my girls: you are as close to your breakthrough as you want to be, and you're as far away as you want to be. You are in control of how fast you get over things and how slow you get over things, and how fast you grow and how slow you grow, because you're gonna it's like anything else. Whatever you put into it, you're going to get out of it,
No,
sort of thing.
I want
So
to I want to hold that thought where you're at, because I want to segue into the what you do now, like the training of the vocals. Yeah. So I want to get back to that, but apologies against to our viewers. Let me get some of our comments here.
I'm so sorry if I'm boring you guys.
No,
No,
you're
you're
good.
not.
You're good. Not because that part that you got to, I want to cover here next. But
Yeah.
let's see. Go ahead and drop some of those comments, Leo. So
Okay.
let's see. What do we have here? Okay. I love the fact that you say it's none of my business what they say or think used to say the same thing, but it's a matter of remembering that on a daily basis and just move forward. Okay.
Absolutely. You
Soy
can
full
imagine
yeah.
the average person doesn't get as much like shame put on them as I do. So because it's been a part of my life, I've been in the public eye since I was 14. So it's been 31 years of constant people trying to humiliate my looks, my voice. So if you haven't figured out by your late 30s how to overcome that, and especially someone like me who gets that all the time, you're
Mhm.
going to suffer. I'm sorry, I'd rather surrender to the joy that's in my life than suffer through other people's opinions, and that
Yeah.
I'm in control of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soy full Munguia from Valle Petilo. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So going back to what you were mentioning earlier, Marina,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
people
You're
always
in
want to
control of it
know the
all.
backstory. So this what when we talk about the backstory, that's what we're talking about, your biography, or maybe make a video or something like sort to capture that. So that's going back. Okay. And enjoying your show, Leaso and Tasiafe, interviewing Marina. I love your songs. And the energy must flow. I agree. Chemical
Yeah.
reactions. See, you got the science part coming out of people.
I'm a
Reprogramming and
science
deprogramming.
geek. Yeah, I'm a science geek because I just believe, I mean, you know, I believe that God has given us all the tools within us to be able to heal ourselves, and um, it's been scientifically proven that we can.
Yeah.
And it's just that we've been made to believe that we are not capable of doing it. So, to give you an example, the ways that I've been able to heal myself, literally the fastest way is, closing the gap, sort of thing. Um, you know, my daughter ended a relationship that she was in, and that story that I was telling you guys, I just felt like, oh, someone needs me. Like I just knew one of my kids needed me. So I texted everybody, is everybody okay? Has everybody got everything they need? And everyone was like, yes, mom, all good. And then my daughter was like, no, mom, I'm really, really suffering.
Oh,
And it was just like a month after they'd broken up. And so she comes downstairs and she's like, I don't know what to do. She's just like, I just want to ring him. I just want to, like this. And then And then I was like, that's okay. Remember that, every season takes 3 months to turn itself over. So give yourself 3 months to feel this way. And then by the 3 months, time will have done some healing. And I said, but we can kind of heal you now if you want. And she goes, yes. Like this. And I said, let's play close the gap. Right. And my kids know close the gap means you are here and this
Mm,
is where you want to be. How can we close that gap really quickly instead of sort of thing. So because you're in control of it all. So she was like okay. So I said to her, hold your hands out like this, and she did. She was like, he did this to me, he did that, he did this, he did that, he did this. And I just went between her hands and I went, start again. You know? Now be honest with yourself. I allowed him to do this to me.
mm,
I allowed myself to be degraded. I allowed this level of disrespect. I allowed it. I accepted it. And she was like, fuck him, like this. There you go. There you
Oh
go.
my gosh.
yeah.
She got over him like that. Never ever thought about him again. Because if you're the problem, you're also the solution. If you are in pain, that level of self-evaluation and honesty, brutal honesty, brings you back to your congruency. You can close the gap as fast as you want by telling yourself the truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And like in our marriages, sort of thing. I've allowed him to treat me this way. I've accepted for 25 years this level of disrespect. I've accepted not being prioritized. I've accepted I did this to me. I allowed it to me. He did nothing to me. That's why I have no resentment towards my husband, towards anybody in my life. Even when people do me wrong, I thank them, because saying thank you is easier than saying if you. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because if you're saying if you, that means you haven't dealt with yourself why you allowed it to happen. But if I say thank you, it's because thank you, you've taught me the lesson. You've taught me a great lesson, and I'm much better at approaching these things going forward. So closing the gap has been a really massive part of my ministry, teaching people be brutally honest with yourself,
yeah.
because it's different when someone else is telling you the truth, because
No,
we can tell our friends,
you're
girl, he doesn't love you. But if you
yeah.
tell yourself the truth, you will hear it finally.
No, you're exactly right. And part of the marriage is being a good listener, like what you're saying. If your spouse is saying, you're not giving me the attention, here's things you need to work on, or here's something I'm not, pleased with what you do. And there's moments like that, in my marriage. So I go and, I'm listening on TikTok. I'm like, am I alone on this? Am I really screwed up? Because like I'm trying to bridge the gap, like you're saying. So I go on TikTok, and my cousin's TikTok I always go on. There was like a panel of women, and they were just laying it out on their husbands, and like, but they were all married. They're not divorced. They're all married. And I just sat there for 30 minutes listening, and I'm like, and every woman that spoke, the other one agreed, but they were all saying, you know, opposite things. And then I finally had to speak up, and I said, ladies, one question. Tell me one positive thing you love about your husband. And
Right?
rather than them giving me the answer, all of them attacked me. Why do you think that, we hate our husbands? We love our husbands. I said, I'm not saying you hate them. I said, I listened for 30 minutes. You listed, a grocery
Yes.
list of what you don't like about your husband. All I asked was, give me one good thing you love about your husband. Because the military, they teach us, find the good stuff. It's easy to find the
Right.
negative
Find
thing.
the gift.
Yeah, but find the positive thing that happened in this event, because we can always criticize the negative ones. And then eventually someone was able to say, I love my husband for doing this. I said, okay, thank you. Because I haven't
Yeah.
heard that out of, I said, next time let's start with that.
Yeah.
We can always remember the bad stuff, but just pick out some of the positive things that
Yeah.
are in your
Yeah.
relationship. Like what you're saying, bridge the gap.
Yeah. Yeah. Broken Me has a PhD in how to put down my husband. Like Broken Me. I
Mhm.
have a doctorate. I could be a professor in a university teaching people how to put down, your husband, the broken me.
Mm.
And that's why, like, one of my songs is called Dear Ex-Husband, and the first 100 drafts of that song goes like, Dear ex-husband, fuck you for, like, you know what I mean? And it took me years of closing the gap, and it didn't have to be years. I could have closed it faster, but because I got a payoff from being, oh, you're blah blah blah, sort of thing. Oh, you're, it helped my ego. It made me
Mm.
feel good about myself to put him down. So when I finally closed that gap, the song changed, and it was, Dear ex-husband, thank you for the 20 years you gave to us.
Mm.
Right? So when someone says thank you to the person that they perceived hurt them, because when I closed the gap, I realized he did nothing to me.
Mm.
It's what I allowed. It's my fault, sort of thing. That allowed me to take the power away from him and back onto myself, to empower myself and equip myself to move on, to go, sort of thing, and to do better for myself. So women, and I met someone in Samoa a couple of years ago, and she sat down and she started telling me about this traumatic story that happened to her like 20 years ago. And
Mm.
I was like, who are you without that story? Do you tell everyone that story? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, is that the only story you tell about? Sometimes we get so stuck telling the same damn story about that one person that hurt us. And I'm like, girl, I don't want to hear about your man. I want to hear, who are you? She didn't even know who she was, because she
Mm.
spent the
Wow.
last 20 years talking shit about her ex-husband. And I was like, girl, why do you even care what he's doing? Move on, sort of thing.
Right.
So it's that lack of self accountability that causes people to stay in that loop over and over and over again. So it's a wonderful way to get further in my emotional health and my mental health. To be able to be brutally honest with myself about myself and what I've allowed.
Marina, I want to go back to what we before we went to the comments. You were talking about the brain, but how your brain operates and how you utilize that understanding, and that's sort of
Yes.
your method of training. The vocal trainings for people that pay into your training.
Yes.
Go ahead and share about that.
Sure. So, my number one subject in school was always science. I can't add or subtract to save my life. And my English was never that great, but
Mm.
science and the way things work, right, is so incredible to me. So, during COVID, I've been teaching a certain vocal technique for about 20 years, and it's great, but it had very slow results. But during COVID, I couldn't travel anymore. I was grounded for 3 years. And during COVID, I was forced to have to create another source of income online because I wasn't getting income from my live shows. And that's a dramatic drop in
Mm.
income, right? Because all the airports were shut down. So I thought, well, I want to teach singing, but I want to teach it in a different way. So I started to look into the science of how singing works in the brain, and also how the skill of singing, what to do with the body. I'm always thinking about, how does the brain and the body memory work together? Because if we can marry them faster, we can get better results. Okay. So I discovered there's a part in the brain called the limbic system, which holds things like your hippocampus. The hippocampus helps us to generate faster memory. So it helps us to remember things faster through repetitive action,
Mm.
right? So a lot of my coaching is, do it again, do it again, do it again, repetitive action, do it again, one more
It's kind
time,
of
do it
like
again.
building up muscle, right?
Building up the muscle, and the hippocampus has been proven to grow as you learn, right?
Mm.
So isn't that amazing? God's given us all the tools, we just don't know how to access them. And then there's another part in the limbic system, which is called the amygdala, and the amygdala stores your memories, your feelings, and your emotions.
Neuroscience.
But yeah, absolutely, the amygdala, it doesn't just store all your good memories and your emotions, but it also stores your habits. right? So that's why no matter how much you try to stop doing something, you can't, because the amygdala is very strong. Well, your body memory has taught your amygdala that's your habit. So you're always going to do your habits before you do anything else. So to undo that habit, we have to really focus on the hippocampus. And the
Mm,
hippocampus, we train the hippocampus, train the hippocampus, train the hippocampus with repetitive action, with proven technique, vocal technique, right? That helps you to be able to achieve vocal mastery in 20 weeks, in 20 sessions. You can do
mm,
it in 10 weeks, as long as there's 20 sessions. You can achieve vocal mastery in 20 sessions rather than 5 or 10 years,
hmm.
right? And the reason
Wow.
being, the reason why I get such incredible results is because I'm a Scorpio and I'm lazy.
Scorpio.
What I mean by that is I want the fastest payoff, the quickest reward for the littlest effort. Does that make sense? I want to make the most money with the least effort, with the least time. So my, my family, my mom says, you're not lazy, you're brilliant, because you
Yes.
can work things out, sort of
Yes.
thing. And I'm like, well, I think it's lazy because, I try to find the way that marries the brain and the body memory together. So I have a 4-step technique. Step one, two, three, four. Step one teaches you how to breathe correctly immediately. Step two teaches you how to form your mouth shapes in your mouth to be able
Yes.
to achieve vocal mastery. Step three teaches you where to push the air, because a lot of people don't do that. They don't teach you where to push the air. Number four teaches you how to effortlessly go from the chest, the mixed, and the head voice. So a lot of people, you got to remember the vocal cords sit together like this, right? They're just right in there, tiny, tiny little things. And you've got your inner vocal folds and your outer vocal folds over here. What happens is that when people sing low, you have to engage the whole vocal fold. The whole vocal fold is engaged. Oh, but notice I can't sing low going You can't sing low with that mouth shape. There's different mouth shapes for low
Mm,
notes and high notes, right? So as you get higher, a lot of people do this. Oh, can you hear that stretch in the vocal cords, right? I don't want to cry. Don't. That's what happens when you try to sing high using the lower voice vocal fold formation. But as you get higher, you actually have to lift off the outer folds and sing from the inner folds because these
mm.
stretch. Okay. So when you sing from, this is the scientific anatomy part of it, right? So when you're singing from here, you can sing high. Oh, I don't wanna cry. Don't wanna cry. Nothing in the world, right? Because I teach you how to effortlessly go from low notes to high notes using 4 steps, proven techniques. You will feel a massive difference even after your first session, and you will feel like, God, I know so much more about my brain, about my vocal cords. It's not just learning how to sing, it's learning how to connect to the audience as well. So we spend 10 sessions on understanding your anatomy and the science and perfecting that through repetition, helping the hippocampus and the brain and the body connection to get rid of the old stuff in the amygdala. Because believe it or not, my worst students are really good singers. Like they come to me already having had to do different things to cope with the stress in their vocal cords. So this is a lifesaver for them, learning how to activate
Mhm.
their vocal cords properly for low notes and high notes, how to use the right mouth shapes. Oh my gosh, after your first session, you're 100% transformed. It transforms you immediately. And
So,
it gives you the
Marina,
confidence.
we have a video out here, and this gentleman right here, it's a video he sent to the X Factor. So,
Oh,
yeah, so just give your quick assessment. I think he was one of your he always idolized you. So, go ahead and
oh, okay.
share, and then feel free to critique what you see.
Okay. Ooh. Will it come up on the screen?
As we
Okay, yeah.
begin,
Have you seen
gonna
this
have
video before?
Marina Davis
Oh God, is that you?
back me up on this one.
Oh my.
This,
So you ready,
this is
Marina?
a
Ile po mafaila umiti. Not sure why I'm dreaming. Solo o ma fo
Oh
fonga
God, that
iaso.
shit.
Outside. Who's
No,
dating
it's
when
actually pretty
they're
good.
that young? Who knows? Ila uva ai, ila utumai.
Man, that was horrible.
Standing from over there.
Wow.
Fofo nga malu, olo, tauvala au mai. She be hollering at me, like even in my dreams, like, what's up, girl? Itsaile mo tutufua. My dogs are in here now. Kamumia itsaile vau matua. Hey dogs, get ready for your part.
All right, you can cut it off now. So, all right. Well,
Silimanga yellow leo, sulimanga yellow leo.
no, come on, I tell you,
Beautiful.
you're supposed to tell him, hey, faifa leo nguku.
Yeah, it really is. And I've been really blessed to teach worship teams as well. And like honestly, the 5 hours when I'm like, "Fai let go ngoku. Fa ngala ngoku," like this, and I'm like, use your lips like this. And the 5 hours are like, yeah, see, I told you it's like this. And I'm like, no, sit down, But it is that simple as. So one of the things that the strategies that I always impart to my students is the uglier you look, the better you sound. Okay, have a listen. Come on, baby, it's you. Okay, without using your lip shapes and without you getting ugly in the face, if you don't use your lips and your face as a part of your instrument, your vocal cords are doing all the work. Come on, baby, it's you. Okay, you can't even reach the notes. But when you engage your breath, engage your lips, engage your push, and then engage your smile, it helps you to bring the clarity to your voice. Come on, baby, it's you. Right? Get ugly in the face. You've got to use your face. Come on, baby, it's you. Come on, baby, it's you. You can access all those that higher register if you just aren't scared of what you look like. So I know I look ugly as hell when I sing, So, but I don't care because I know the uglier I look, the better I sound.
Yeah.
If you're trying to be pretty,
I found my weakness.
yeah,
That's my weakness.
yeah, you want to be pretty.
I don't like
Oh,
looking
God, you're
ugly,
pretty.
so I will never learn how to sing because I'm looking in the mirror, and if I don't like that face, no.
But that's the thing is that like how simple is that? If we can just equate using our lips to having clearer voices, you can save yourself so much time, because remember, what you don't do out here, you're forcing your vocal cords to do all the work, right? So I teach people how to get comfortable in getting ugly for their craft. But the other side of it, the second half of your sessions, is understanding the amygdala to be able to manipulate your audience. So, for instance, I'll sing "I Will Always Love You" without the effects that trigger the brain memory. Okay, so if I should stay, I would only be in your way. So that is nice and smooth, right? Good karaoke. But if we want to trigger the memories, the feelings, and the emotions and connect to our audience, we use what's called the crying voice, which is not, but it's not that. It's crying while you're singing. And then we also put in the vibrato and the change in the volume, going from loud to soft. If I should stay, I would only be in your way. So I'll go, but I know I'll think of you every step of the way. And I will always love you. So if we use like the crying voice, which is, you add it to any song. These three strategies, you can add it to any song. This is some free knowledge, y'all. Okay, you don't
You
have to
know,
pay me for this. All
when
right.
we do our short
Keep
clip,
going.
I'm gonna say that was your personal serenade to me. So
Yes.
Keep on going.
The science behind it is that the amygdala holds all our memories and feelings and emotions, right? So I can use the crying voice, the vibrato, the shaking of the voice, because listen to the difference. If I should stay, I would own. There's no emotion in it. But because we are humans, we all have experienced the same emotions.
mm,
So what that means is that I can trigger your emotions and your memories and your feelings using the crying voice, the vibrato, right? And then also the change in the volume. Okay. So when you go to the end and you're like, there's something that Whitney does, which is called a delayed vibrato, which is a straight note, and then she goes into a vibrato. Listen to how she normally does it. She goes like, and I will always
mm,
love you. Right? So she does that. Listen to it without it. And I will always love you. It's different without the vibrato.
mhm,
So we know that the science of singing allows us to be able to trigger the memories and the feelings just by doing simple things like vibrato, simple things like, the changes in the volumes, right? So in the end, when she goes, love you. Darling, I love you. Oh, I'll always love you. Sounds totally different without the volume changes. We'll always love you. Darling, I love you. Oh, I love. It can still sound nice, but it's not going to trigger the brain unless we actually activate the amygdala, the memories and the feelings and the emotions that are stored there. This is why when you hear a song, immediately you're going to have feelings attached to that song. There's one song I hear and I'm like, ugh, that reminds me of that guy. Sort of. It's the amygdala, right? It's the amygdala. The amygdala in the brain is getting triggered by the sound, right? So it's so important to know these things as a performer. It makes you an intelligent performer so that you know how to touch the hearts. And if you've
mm,
ever been in one of my audiences, you actually cannot get the whole vibe of what I do without actually sitting there and listening to it. I did this show and I shit you not, okay? There were these ladies there who came with the intention to hate the show.
huh,
And not because of me, but because of another artist that was performing there, right?
mm,
So they're sitting there like this, and I'm like, baby, it's you. You're the one I love. You're the one I need. And they're like, it's impossible to not be affected, sort of thing, because I know regardless of whatever their preconceived notions are before they actually hear me sing, I know how to trigger the emotional response. And I'm
sure,
not for everybody. There's no way anyone can have a perfect voice I mean, Adele's got millions of haters, Celine Dion's got millions of haters, Beyonce's got millions of haters. I don't focus on who hates what I do. I focus on giving the best experience to those that love what I do, you know? So that's just a little snippet of what I do. DM me on Marina Davis Music on either best way is Facebook or Instagram, so I can send you guys the links to be able to sign up for
man.
classes.
We should have put your Cash App or something. I mean, this was free stuff. I felt that, and even the other one
Good.
with my amateur years, I still felt that one. But I see what you're saying, distinguishing the two. I'm like, damn, I felt like I was there in person.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. No, it's a great tool. Great tool.
Yeah. Give me a second,
I
Marina.
I I
A
am
lot of these
s-
viewers are commenting when you were singing, so I wanted to bring that back. I mean, they're just showing their appreciation of what you've taught them.
Thank you.
Minority Report, scalar waves.
let's see.
Oh, it's getting hot because we're going into summer here. You guys are going into winter, right?
Well,
Yes.
we're going into winter. Okay, Minority Report, brains, just like a computer, you can reprogram it.
Absolutely. The brain is useless on its own, though. So unless we program the body to follow through on the action, no matter, I mean, imagine being a pilot and just thinking your brain is going to fly the plane. Your body memory has to follow through with that. So that's why we practice with the body, to make ourselves congruent with who we think we are. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else we have? We had several there. Never looked at it like turning my head into an instrument. What did you
Yeah.
call that head head voice you said earlier? Right.
the
Something.
uh the crying voice or
Mm,
the head voice. So we've
yeah.
got the chest voice, which is oh down here. Okay. How
Yeah.
you know you're singing in chest voice is your chest actually vibrates when you sing low. If you're going ah, there's no vibration in the chest, you know you've come out of the chest voice. You need to switch to mixed. Mixed is like the cheat code. I've developed a cheat code with my singing lessons where I can get you to sing the high notes, you got me feeling emotions, right? Through the mixed voice instead of switching to the head voice, which is actually really hard to learn. So this
Mm,
is like super next level. So usually, depending on the client, I never actually get to head voice because I've got a cheat code that helps you to sing really high, effortlessly, no pain, no strain. And that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you can hit the note. If you are having pain and strain and cracking in your vocal cords, you're still not doing it the right way. There should be no pain, no strain, no cracking at all in your vocal fold, in your throat at all. If your throat is going dry when you're singing, even though you can hit the notes, I'm sorry, you're still doing it the wrong way. I
mm,
can teach you
Mhm.
how to basically cut out all the cracking, all the pain, no more strain. People come to me and I go from a 0 to 10. I get them to sing for me first. 0 to 10, rate your pain. Oh, it's a 10, it's an 8. Within 5 minutes, within 10 minutes, right? Depending on the client, it's gone to a 0 because that's how easy it is to reprogram, to deprogram and reprogram the brain and the body to do the right things.
amazing.
Yeah, I love what I
I,
do.
I I heard your daughter sing, and I loved how you taught them. And so I'm excited to add my younger daughter because she loves to sing,
Yes.
and she sings out of her ears, her nose, and whatever air comes out of her body. And so
I
I would
love
love
it.
for her to learn the right way. So I'm excited. I can't
Mhm.
wait.
Of course, of course. And the younger you start them, so we start from 8 years old, because before that, the attention span's not there. And also, I'm Samoan, so I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna give you a hiding.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
amount of hidings I threaten to my students, and their mums are in the background going, "Get her a hiding," sort of thing. I love it. I have such incredible relationships with all my students and their families. But like my oldest student at the moment is 76, and my youngest student is 9, right?
Hmm.
And there's such a broad scale, and everyone comes for their own reasons. But the thing is that I don't know if you know, but I feel like no, whether people can sing or not, naturally they have a desire to sing, and that's because that's God. That's God in us that wants us to sing. We have to sing. It's so good for our heart health, so good for our mental health. Singing is Singing helps you to remember things faster as well. So the studies show that kids who are taught to learn something with music along to a tune will learn
Mm,
it 70% faster than kids who are just taught to learn it without a tune. Right? So A, B, C, D, E, they can learn that faster. If it was just taught A, B, C, D,
mhm.
they learn 70% faster when there's a tune attached to what they're learning. It's
Hmm.
brilliant.
Okay, so I gotta ask you, maybe you had mentioned this earlier, but the song Ole Tawa Lunga, right? What inspired you? You probably said this earlier, but what inspired you to write the tune and the lyrics to the
I
song?
didn't write it. I didn't write it. So it's actually an old Samoan song, sort of thing. So it was already a popular Samoan song in Samoa.
Mm.
So to give you the backstory of that, now I get what you mean. Everybody wants to know the backstory. Okay.
Yeah.
So the backstory of that is that I actually didn't know how to speak Samoan until I started singing in
Mm.
Samoan, right? I had gone to a Samoan AOG from the time I was 16 and I'd learned a little bit of Samoan there. But like teaching myself how to speak Samoan through singing Samoan has been a great tool. Now I'm, people are always like, oh my God, you speak really great Samoan. And I'm like, no, I just like, I can't do all the formal stuff, but I know how to hold a conversation in Samoan now.
Mm.
But when I was 19, I was approached by Sam Tuunga, and he's the nephew of the Tuunga brothers who were in Five Star, who created Five Stars. So he approached me, and he was, that he started, or him, Lapi, and the other boys, they did Jam or Jam.
Mm.
And so their records had gone successful because they were the very first in the world to put Samoan music to popular, to R&B and
Mhm.
to popular music. So they were like, hey, we heard you've gone solo, because I was singing in a group before then. Have you ever thought about singing in Samoan? And I was and I remember thinking, God, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I've just left this really successful group. What am I going to do with my life? I still want to sing. And then within like a week, he rang and he said, would you consider doing this? And I was like, heck yes. You know, I don't know. I know how to speak. I told him I know how to speak perfect Samoan. And I turn up to the recording studio, and thank God my voice was good enough that he was like willing to work with me through it. He was like teaching me how to say all the words and things like that. And you should have heard my grandma when it came out. She was like, "Ese se le whainga le upu lea, ese se." And I was just like, well, it's done now. So what can I do? So he actually put together the majority of that album for me. And it was already done. We wrote about 3 or 4 songs on that first album, and the moment it came out, it went nuts all over the world. It was the number
Mm.
one Pacific album for 3 years straight when it first came out. And I remember back in the day when I'd go overseas for a gig in the Auckland airport, there used to be there used to be like a record store in there, like a CD store. And I used to walk in there, and they have like the number one Pacific Island album, the number one album in the world, blah blah blah. And on the number one Pacific album, every time I went in, for 3 years, mine was on the number one, sort of thing. And I just kept going, I can't even I still can't believe people listen to my music. So Ole Taurunga, when it took off, oh my gosh, it just propelled my career again, sort of thing. So I was really, really grateful to Sam. And now it is probably the number one used, that and Lau Samoa, the two number one used Polynesian songs in movies and television. Because every year I get maybe 25 requests to have it on some sort of show, film, YouTube series, things like that. And what an honor. That's what I had secretly hoped for, was that my songs would create some sort of legacy,
Yeah.
Legacy
language legacy.
indeed. Quick question. Because it's
Yes.
utilized so much, and we're going to almost like what, 3 decades, right? 24, close
Yes.
to 25 years.
Yeah.
What? How does that work for TikTok? Because they're using snippets, for videos. Do you get any royalties from them using it?
You do.
Mm-hmm.
You do. If you've got a good publisher, and most of us do, they collect all your royalties for you. Now, it's TikTok. I'm not, I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my thing. It just kept coming up. I'm not, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm a businesswoman at heart. I never wanted to rely on my music to make a living. So that's why I don't care if it make if I mean, I do care, because obviously that's my intellectual property and that's my
Right.
rights, sort of thing. But it's not always going to work out like that. So, that's why I strongly believe that regardless of your creativity, you should find other ways to make money with that. For instance, I use, like, I've got a platform, that reaches 39 million people a month. So why wouldn't I sell that audience? Why wouldn't I say to a business, you guys can pay me this amount to get reach in front of these people? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because it would cost you more to do a whole campaign that you can't even control who it reaches. Mine is guaranteed.
Right.
My viewership, people are interested in what I do, and I've been offered a lot of money to do the wrong thing too. And it just,
Mhm.
if something doesn't align, again, congruency and alignment is very important to me. So, every day there's a new offer to do online gambling, to promote online gambling, to do the wrong things, to a huge capacity, millions of dollars worth. And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't live with myself if I did that.
Mm.
So even though it's hard to turn down that kind of money, I would still rather have the integrity and the character, and not have people come back and say, oh, didn't you?
Right. Right.
I don't want to go to jail. Put it that way. Yes. I don't
Yeah.
want to go to prison. You know what I mean? I kind of really love my life, and I don't want to put myself and my followers in a position where our integrity is being questioned.
Hmm.
So yeah,
I
so
love it.
yeah, you
I love
should be
how
able to
your
make money other
character is
ways.
aligned. Yeah.
Mm. It's hard. I mean, who wants to turn down all that money? But when you look at the payoff, it's not worth it if it means that your
Yeah.
family's in danger and things like that. Who cares? No, forget it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. It's true. Not
Mm.
all money is good money,
Oh heck no.
especially, yeah, especially where it's quick money and it
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
last. Yeah. So,
In my industry it's rampant, so you've got to hold yourself. If you don't care about your own congruency, you wouldn't care about how you make money. But because I have to make sure that it all aligns for me, that my because my nervous system can't take the anxiety, so I just
Mm.
go down the path of least resistance to joy for myself and peace.
and especially being an honest person, right? And you can't live with yourself coming back home to look at your own kids, you
Sure.
know.
God, I want to be dishonest sometimes. Some of this money is like, oh, it would be so easy to be dishonest. I'm just being honest. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
I'm not some superhuman that looks at millions of dollars and goes, oh, nah, I don't need it. Oh my God, sometimes I want to be so dishonest. But at the end of the day, I'm really grateful that, like, because I discuss these things with my family, especially with my children, and they're like, Mom, don't do it. You've always taught us this way. And I'm like, God, I'm just this once.
Yeah.
But it's not worth it. It's not worth it at the end of the day.
No,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
absolutely correct. There are a lot of times, even in my profession, sometimes I looked at others who I know for a fact that cheated their way up. And I know a lot of folks that cheated their way. And to me, it's the values that I
Yes.
have. I can't live with myself. And there's a lot of times, I get frustrated because I'm being honest and doing it the right way. But then I'm like, I'm tired of being here. Those folks are moving up. You know,
Yeah.
that's the norm.
Yeah.
Should I
That's the
should I
norm.
abandon my values and cheat so I can be up there with them? But then I always revert back to it's my relationship with God, because God will always tell me I
Always.
would not be able to live comfortably knowing that I've cheated my way up. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
I meant to ask you, Marina. You talked about you've released 50 some albums or songs, and then
Songs.
you say like 14 or 15 are what you call hits. But was there one that meant a lot to you that you worked so hard on and you felt like, I think this is the one, but
Yes.
you felt like it didn't hit?
All of
Is
them.
there a specific one? Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they don't hit, it's like,
Mhm.
shame. But let
Yeah.
me tell you something. There's something about a powerful women around you, right? I'll give you an example. One of the greatest singers I've ever had the privilege of working with. When I tell you she's 100 times a better singer than I ever could be, creatively, writer, 100 times better looking than I ever could hope to be, perfect body. I met up with her after like 20 years of not seeing her. And I said, Sis, she's like, I'm so proud of you. You deserve all your success. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this thing is deciding to fail. But she's like, I'm so proud of you. You deserve all your success. You've worked so hard. And I said, Sis, You are like 100 times better than I ever could be. Why didn't you ever release any music? She goes, I did. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, see, I released one song and it flopped and I gave up.
Mm.
Right? The fear of failure keeps the best people at bay
Mm-hmm.
from their success, from their calling. I may not be as talented as her, but the thing is that I got some balls. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I got some big ass hairy balls. Do you know what I mean? And those balls helped me be, and you know who gave them to me? The women in my life.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say gorillas
Okay.
or something like that.
I got the shaver.
Girl, I need two of those shaver creams because this is some hair on these balls. Okay, so because of the women in my life, my grandmother, my aunties, my mother, my daughters, I wasn't. It's not that I wasn't given permission to give up. It never occurred to me to give up. Do you know what I mean? It never occurred to me to go, oh, I failed again.
Mm,
You know, I failed again. You know, no
yeah.
one's I've had people in my life say to me, maybe you should think about throwing it in. Yeah, maybe you should think about finding another friend because I would never tell you to throw it in if it wasn't working. But what I
Mm-hmm.
noticed was that for every 4 songs, 5 songs, there's a hit. So I just started expecting if I just release 4 more songs, I'm going to have a hit. And that's been the case.
Mm.
So, because I love the psychology of buying and selling, I understand that it's a numbers game. I
Mm-hmm.
love the science of it all. I love understand and not taking it personally because that's really easy to do is to take it personally like, oh, I'm such a failure, I'm such a loser. And then it's like, you know no, you're not. So I have a different relationship to failure. I'm not afraid to fail because I know the failures will get me to the win faster. So what I tell my girls is fail faster. If it's not working, fail faster. Fail faster doesn't mean keep doing the same thing to keep failing. No. Refine the process as you go. What made you fail the last time? Look back at that
Mm-hmm.
and go, okay, let's refine the process and keep going till we get a win. And that's always worked in my life. So do you see what I mean about like it's not about talent, it's about balls, it's about gusto, it's about
Yeah.
not caring about the results, not it. And I'm a results driven person, obviously, always. But I also understand that in my industry, I've set the expectation correctly with myself that not everything's going to be a hit, and I don't take it personally. You know what I mean? I don't take it personally when people don't like my music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not for everyone.
It goes back to what we
So
said earlier when we started the
You're good.
podcast. And you use a different analogy, but what it comes down to is you never want to look back in life and say, what if, right? Because I
shoulda.
was afraid to take that attempt. Now you're looking back and you're questioning yourself, had I
Mm,
done it, right? Just go and
yeah,
do it, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. And now that, my body is finally aligning with my mind and my soul, my video clips and my music is also becoming very different. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Hmm.
And so as a result, I'm able to be a lot more freer in my expression because that's all that music is expressing myself. So my expression will be very different. My music videos will be very different starting from next year.
Yeah.
We're recording some at the end of the year that I just like some more people are going to look at it and go, if you're sexy, something. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to express myself the best way that I see fit according to the song, and according to where I want to take my career in the next 5 years. Because your vocal cords shrink up by the time they're 55. I only got 10 more years in this game. I'm going to
Mm.
go out with a bang. I'm going to go out with a
Yeah.
bang. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such
I
a
like
blessing.
that.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end of the hour, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. And you have family and your parents that you have to spend time with. Um, and I was gonna ask you, what does it look like for the next couple of years? But you just mentioned
that's what it
that.
looks like.
Yeah,
Boom,
and I love
bang.
that. I love that because, like you, we're in our 40s. Arlington is also in his 40s, right, Arlington?
Yeah. I just turned 32 last week. So,
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's like you, I want to be able to enjoy, right? As much
Yes.
as I can while I can. And and I'm learning so much from you.
Oh,
Just
thank you, sis.
it's crazy because like I feel like this is all new to me, even though actually let me just say it's crazy that it's the first time I'm hearing these things. I don't
Right,
know, and it's not okay, yes, the music, but it's the advice. How
right.
you were explaining it, the closing part
Thank
too.
you,
I've not
sis.
heard that before. It's very
Thank
interesting
you.
and it put a lot of
Thank you.
perspective. And I hope that all of you out there, our viewers and those who are going to tune in later to listen, can also be able to learn because
Yeah.
this is
We
a
got to
lesson for all
elevate.
of us.
We
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
elevate. I don't see any reason in uh, taking in advice from people who I don't want their husband, I don't want their bank account, I don't want their life. The most
yeah,
miserable people. Let me tell you something. If people are trying to pull you down, it means they're below you.
Hmm.
Why
yeah,
would I even take life advice from people that I don't want their life?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I love my life. I'm so blessed. My parents are healthy. My parents are strong. My siblings are the most incredible people. I have daughters who are just phenomenal. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I have all the support that I could ever dream of. And it's the ones that support me. I'm becoming aware of something lately too, that people who support me in private only and never in public, I'm becoming aware of those people too, because like Gaylor, they're not supporting you in public because they're talking shit about you to other people. So I'm becoming, we're still learning, we're still growing, and being a constant student, in this life, in this pursuit of joy,
yeah.
it opens us up to the best in life. And I'm so excited for what my 50s are going to bring. I'm so
Mhm.
excited to the body that I'm going to have. I'm so excited to the health and the rejuvenation that I'm going to have.
Yep.
Oh, girl, I'm ready. I'm ready.
50s is the new 20s, I'm telling you.
Yes.
Well,
I'm
for
already
all of you
there,
Oh,
out
so I'm
there,
telling you
yeah.
right now, I'm enjoying life as it is.
Hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
before
we're
I turn the
blessed.
time to Arlington and to to Marina, if she wants to say anything else before we close, check out Marina Davis. She has her website, marinadavis.com, and also for all of you out there, this she is it. If you have a child out there, or if you yourself want to do music lesson, vocal lesson, check her website out. I was just looking at it this week. I had my daughter taking a look at it, and I'm going to put her up for music lesson. This is the real deal. And also check out her social media and book her up for any events. She is fabulous, and do it now
I'm
before she
funny.
is taken. Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much, Marina, for being on our
Pieces.
podcast, taking the time
Thank
out
you.
to share your journey and your story and giving us the
Thank you.
best advice that anyone could take, and I mean to
Wow.
share. So thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here because, sometimes I feel like what I have to say, especially, in this, especially in the subject matter of getting away from the perfection that is forced on us in our culture. And because we cannot live freely as our true selves in that perfection, I feel like that's not for all audiences, and I can accept that and I appreciate that. But I felt like, with you guys, we're on the same, journey to our highest, elevation. So for me, it's an honor to be here. And I've turned down so many podcasts. And as soon as you reached out, I was like, yes, because
Thank
I
you.
knew we were on the same vibe, sort of thing. So I appreciate it, guys, and really do appreciate you guys taking the time to understand and hear my heart and not look in between, but just hear it as it is. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to do that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
The honor is ours. And again, Marina, thank you appreciate you taking your time to
Thank
giving
you.
us another opportunity. And we know how busy your schedule is, but um, just grateful. I think this segment can be defined as raw because you're getting what happens behind the scene. There's nothing that was not true of you. So people get to see who the true Marina is, what are how she runs her ship, and we appreciate that. So, but before we conclude, just want to tell our audience, like we always say, across the Pacific, if there were any things that that were said or heard that doesn't fit well with you, it wasn't a direct attack to you. So these things are just what we share
It
across.
might have been.
Yeah.
Because
But
triggers are not triggers, they're activations. A trigger, if we feel triggered by someone, you need to ask yourself, why am I triggered? Is there any truth in that? If you're getting triggered, it means that your soul and God is trying to activate something in you to become aware of why that's happening. So sorry, yes, go on,
no,
sorry.
you're right.
That's
And
true. That
to
is true.
Marina's point is, before you point that finger is always pointing back at you. So we talked about self-reflection,
Mhm.
you know, self-discovery, right? So a lot of the
Yeah.
problems, look internally, but a lot of the things that you shared was more than just music. We've explored, the different parts of science and how you operate. You brought a lot of the scientific world and to us Samoan people who really don't pursue that route. So thank you for that as well.
Thank
To
you.
our viewers, thanks for all our viewers that were chiming in, and I know across the Pacific. Hopefully, this message reaches you and apply it. Again, like Lasso said, this message is for others. And Marina's got so much talent that we advise your young ones enroll in those courses because she's got the shortcut to success. And thanks again, Lasso, for scheduling Marina and all the works you do behind the scene that a lot of people don't recognize. So again, thanks to our Heavenly Father for a great podcast, and have a blessed evening to everyone, and a blessed night wherever you're viewing this from. Yeah. Mangwil po.
Passe for
Pa soy fu.